Imagine it's 3 in the morning. You're walking into the kitchen for a glass of water or something when you see them. Your spouse, partner, your roommate, maybe, or maybe even your kid, standing in the middle of the hallway. Their eyes are wide open, but they're staring at a point 3 inches behind your head. Shortly after losing your breath, bladder, and maybe even a little bowel control, you realize, oh, they're sleepwalking. What do, right? You might vaguely remember the warning somebody like, I don't know, your grandmother or your mom or whoever gave you. A thing about not waking them, you know? Like, I like to imagine maybe it comes to you with some echoed wind chimes or some tinkling out-of-tune piano and some whispery voice from probably your recently emptied bowels saying something like, whatever you do not wake them up. If you do, maybe their heart might stop, or they might have a stroke, or you might literally shatter their mind. Possibly not as bad, but still, maybe they empty their bowels in fright. I mean, now you would have 2 messes to worry about, right? Yours and theirs. Fucking gross. So you stand there, paralyzed. Your shit in your jammies. I don't know why it would be somebody else's, but your shit in your jammies there, watching them try to fold an imaginary pile of laundry or something. And you're terrified that a simple, hey, wake up, shouted loudly in their ear could be a death sentence. Or any kind of way to wake them up, really. You don't have to shout. I mean, that just seems evil. Here's the thing, though. It's a lie. It's a total myth. In fact, by not waking them, you're probably letting them wander into a coffee table or worse, out the front door, into some traffic maybe, or maybe into the car where they drive and, I don't know, maybe make some purchases they didn't mean to make at a restaurant. Yeah, right. Like they're ordering food that's way too expensive, and they get the $3,000 bill, and they're like, "Whatever, you're charged on my card." And you're letting. Then they drive home with leftovers they don't remember getting or eating, and then what? In the morning, they're like, "What the fuck? My card's overdrawn. I can't pay rent." And I have this thing that looks like a goose, and I don't eat tapas. Who the fuck got tapas? And then you have to try to explain all that to them. I mean, it's ridiculous. But you're letting them do that by walking around, And we think not waking them up is the best thing to do. Why do we believe that? We spend roughly a third of our lives unconscious, drifting through various stages of REM and deep sleep. Yet we are remarkably confident about things that just aren't true. We tell ourselves we can catch up on sleep over the weekend like we're balancing a checkbook or something. We convince ourselves that a glass of wine before bed is a sedative when it's actually a chemical wrecking ball for our sleep quality. We obsess over the 8-hour rule as if it's some ancient law written in stone rather than a byproduct of the Industrial Revolution. Tonight, we're turning off the night light and staring into the dark void of our nights. In the time of darky darkness. Our nighttime darky darkness, sleepy time. And we're breaking down the old wives' tales, the TikTok sleep hacks that are actually keeping you awake, and the strange history of how humans used to sleep before the night bulb changed everything. Put down the phone, kick off your shoes, and relax to the soothing sounds of me telling you that you were lied to about sleep. In this episode, I'm separating the science of rest from the stories we've brought into the dark with us. Tonight, let's put some of the myths to bed. Did that come off as sexy? Did I turn you on? Weird. Well, now this is just awkward now. Let me start the episode.
This is an Elton reads a book a week. Short-isode.
watchful eyes of Bob Stratos and Apollo, welcome to Elton Reads a Book a Week, the podcast overjoyed at being picked last for Dodgeball. My name is Elton and I read a book a week. This is, as the theme suggests, another short-isode. I'm having trouble with the next full-length episode, so I'm putting this out instead. I'm a train wreck in a meat suit. What can I say? The subject this time around comes from the same book as the last time around. The book is called Uncle John's Curiously Compelling Bathroom Reader, or at least that's the book that inspired my deep dive into the realm of sleep and the myths that surround it. Let's go, and I'll try to entertain you enough to stay awake, while also sounding soothing enough to help you sleep. You would think it's an impossible needle to thread, and you're right. But it's not going to stop me from trying, damn it. It's weird. Even though we know so much more about sleep now, we're actually sleeping worse as a society. Sleep is just as vital as eating, as eating right or breathing. But over the last 100 years, people have been getting less and less good rest. In the U.S., for example, only 1 out of 3 people gets the recommended amount of sleep, and fewer than 30% even feel like their rest is truly refreshing. I know I am one of those people. Every night I go to sleep, I get up and I'm still tired. I think I'm just, dying. Probably not. But, everyone's quote-unquote dying. But you know what I mean. Maybe it's my brain slowly falling apart. I don't know. I'm a hypochondriac sometimes. The lack of sleep isn't just because we're busy. It's also because we have a bunch of deep-seated incorrect ideas about sleep, basically sleep myths that mess up our habits and often make sleep issues and chronic diseases even worse. It's a big problem. And the fact that doctors just don't get enough sleep education, think about it. The people you see first, your primary care physicians, only get about 2 hours of formal training on sleep in all of medical school. No wonder many of them aren't equipped to figure out what's wrong or to correct all the bad information people believe. Some professional advice is missing. Folks often look online, and end up believing things like, you have to get 8 hours of sleep. That nightcap of wine, that helps you sleep, or that snoring. It's no big deal. We really do need to break down these myths so that what people do matches how their bodies actually work when it comes to sleeping and stuff like that, waking up. The other side of sleeping. The idea that everyone needs exactly 8 hours of sleep a night is probably the toughest myth to kill in the sleep world. And there is a sleep world. Don't be fooled. It's a lot of things floating around and beds in the air and, the monsters with all the doors. It's all real. Or not. Sure, you hear 8 hours everywhere, but the truth is how much you need is totally personal. It's mostly down to your genes, your age, and how tired you are. The 8-hour thing actually started way back in the 1900s, linked to factory work and productivity. People like Thomas Edison were big on it. But modern sleep studies are way past that same for everyone idea. They show there's a huge variety in how much sleep people truly need. The current guidelines established by the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, or the AASM, and the Sleep Research Society, the SRS, emphasize a range rather than a single number. For adults aged 18 to 60, the consensus is that 7 or more hours of sleep on a regular basis are necessary to promote optimal health and reduce the risk of adverse outcomes, including obesity, diabetes, which I have, hypertension, which I have, and cardiovascular disease, which I don't think I have. The National Sleep Foundation refines this to a 7 to 9 hour window for most healthy adults. Let's break it down by age real quick. 4 to 12 months, probably about 12 to 16 hours for real. Shorting that, there's a lot of developmental delays and irritability. Toddlers, between the age of 1 and 2, 11 to 14 hours. Shorting that could be messing with learning and behavior problems. Preschoolers, those preschoolers, 3 to 5 years old, they should be getting about between 10 and 13 hours. Shorting that affects attention deficits, or, you know what I mean, and emotional dysregulation. Yeah, so they can get pretty unwieldy. And when you enter school age, between 6 and 12, should be getting about 9 to 12 hours. If you short it, you get a lot of impaired memory and obesity and things like that. Teenagers between 13 and 18 should be getting maybe between 8 and 10. If you don't, you short that, you start getting into things like self-harm and suicidal ideation, and they start getting clumsy in accidents and things. Young adults between 18 and 25, between 7 and 9 hours. Again, you short that, you get a little bit of cognitive decline, some weight gain. Adults, 26 to 64, 7 to 9 hours. Again, if you short that, there's some hypertension, heart disease, and diabetes stuff that might creep up. And older adults, 65 plus, between 7 and 8 hours, roughly. If you short that, you get falls and cognitive impairment. That seems to be the big one, cognitive impairment, and shortened lifespan. So as we've seen, the variability between these ranges is substantial. Approximately 13.5% of the population may naturally require more than 9 hours, and to function at peak capacity. While there is a rare genetic subset that functions optimally on significantly less sleep, this variability is dictated by process S, the homeostatic drive for sleep, and process C, the circadian rhythm. A common misconception is that an individual can train their body to need less sleep. However, research into familial natural short sleep, or FNSS, has identified specific genetic mutations that allow certain individuals to thrive on 4 to 6 hours of sleep without the cognitive or metabolic impairments that characterize sleep deprivation in the general population. The rarity of these mutations, often found in fewer than 1 in several thousand individuals, underscores the danger of this Edison myth. For the vast majority of people, attempting to function on 5 hours of sleep results in a cumulative sleep debt that progressively impairs focus, creativity, and immune function, even if the individual subjectively feels adjusted to the lack of sleep, meaning you're lying to yourself. Even though you feel adjusted, you probably need more. A seminal longitudinal study involving 1.1 million participants aged between the ages of 30 to 102, provided critical insight into the relationship between sleep duration and mortality. I'm guessing the 102-year-old guy is the one they listen to a lot. Or lady, I don't know. Probably a lady. They live longer. Anyway, the findings indicated that a U-shaped risk profile, the lowest mortality rates, were observed among those sleeping exactly 7 hours per night. Individuals sleeping 8 hours or more exhibited a significantly increased mortality hazard, exceeding 15% of those reporting more than 8.5 hours. As did those sleeping 6 hours or less. This pattern was observed across diverse ethnic groups and persisted after adjusting for age, BMI, and smoking status. Clinical researchers caution that while short sleep is directly linked to metabolic and cardiovascular dysfunction, long sleep over 9 hours may be a marker of underlying disease, such as an undiagnosed sleep apnea problem or depression. Or chronic inflammation, rather than a direct cause of death. My God, I just tripping over words now. Nonetheless, the data definitively refutes the notion that more is always better when it comes to sleep duration. Now let's talk about getting boozed and sleeping. God, I love that booze. Man, I don't drink that much. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't drink a lot. Hardly ever. I don't know. I don't mind it. It's just the hangovers now. It's just, they're brutal. The belief that alcohol improves sleep, the nightcap myth, is perhaps the most prevalent and clinically damaging misconception regarding sleep aids. Approximately 20% of adults report using alcohol to facilitate sleep onset. While alcohol is a potent sedative that reduces sleep onset latency, or SOL, its impact on sleep architecture is profoundly disruptive, resulting in fragmented, non-restorative rest. Okay, now let's get into boozing it up to go to sleep. I know everyone's probably heard this one, at least, most adults. I know I did. You get tanked. You see all the movie drunks, and they're all falling around, their eyes all droopy, and they're all, what did you say? Like they're tired. You would think it's just a natural thing to do to get slightly drunk, then just go to sleep. Oh boy. Thinking alcohol helps you sleep, that whole nightcap thing, it is probably the most common and damaging misunderstanding about sleep aids out there. It turns out about 20% of adults say they use a drink to fall asleep faster. While booze definitely makes you drowsy and cuts down the time it takes to conk out, it completely messes up the quality of your sleep, leaving you with a choppy, unrefreshing rest. Shit sleep is what I meant to say. It leaves you feeling unrested and shitty. Probably, doesn't help the hangover either. Alcohol messes with your sleep in two main ways. When you first drink and your blood alcohol level is going up, or at its highest even, it acts like a helper for the brain's calming system called the GABA, the GABA. This initially slows down your central nervous system, helping you fall asleep faster and actually increasing the amount of deep sleep you get. How about it? That's what I'm into. However, the problem is that alcohol is a major blocker of REM sleep, the rapid eye movement kind of sleep that you need when you're going deep into the sleep. Studies show that even a moderate amount of alcohol will seriously delay when your first REM cycle happens and cut down on the total amount of REM sleep in the first 4 hours. This is a big deal because REM sleep is super important for dealing with your emotions and cementing complicated memories. As the liver metabolizes alcohol, the blood alcohol level falls, triggering a wakeful rebound in the second half of the night. To compensate for the earlier suppression of excitatory signals, the brain ramps up the sensitivity of its glutamatergic receptors, particularly the NMDA receptors, and decreases the GABAergic production to maintain homeostasis. The neurochemical whiplash leads to frequent awakenings, or WASO, increased heart rate, night sweats, and more vivid, often disturbing dreams as the brain attempts an uncoordinated REM rebound. Consequently, when the individual may have fallen asleep quickly, the overall sleep efficiency is drastically reduced, leading to daytime sleepiness, of course, and is often self-treated with caffeine, creating a vicious cycle of chemical dependence. I know I'm addicted, not to the alcohol, but definitely the caffeine. And it turns out that alcohol really messes up your sleep, not just for one night either. Studies looking at people with alcohol use disorder, or AUD, show that even after almost 2 years, up to 719 days of not drinking, their sleep still hasn't bounced back to normal. Significantly, fucking Jesus. Specifically, they get way less of that deep, restorative, slow wave sleep compared to people who are healthy sleepers. And they spend more time in light, stage 1 sleep. This suggests that abusing alcohol for a long time might cause lasting damage to the parts of your brain that control sleep. Especially that part of your brain in the front of your noggin. Now, there's a disturbing, Jesus, they're all kind of disturbing, aren't they? There's a burgeoning myth in the digital age that sleeping with a light on or using electronic devices before bed is a harmless habit. This misunderstanding ignores the specialized physiology of the human visual system and its role in entraining the internal biological clock to the external environment. The human retina contains 3 types of photoreceptors: rods, cones, and the domes. No, I'm kidding. Rods, cones, and the more recently discovered intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, or the iPRGCs. Unlike rods and cones, which are primarily responsible for the image-forming vision, iPRGCs mediate non-image forming responses to light, such as pupillary constriction and circadian synchronization. These cells contain the photopigment, melanospin, melanopsin, melanopsin, fuck it, which is uniquely sensitive to short wavelength light in the blue cyan range, specifically between 460 nanometers and 480 nanometers. Something like that, or double N's, but between those ranges. You're not breaking out fucking light meters. Calm down. When blue light enters the eye in the evening, it triggers the iPRGCs to send a signal via the, oh, fuck this, retinohypothalamic. I'm going with that. Retinohypothalamic tract to the suprachiasmatic, suprachiasmatic nucleus, or the SCN. It's just SCN from here on out. I'm not fucking pronouncing that again. This signal suppresses the pineal gland's release of melatonin, the hormone of darkness that prepares the body for sleep. Those bright screens we're all glued to, smartphones, tablets, computers, are blasting us with bright light late into the evening. Scientists found that if university students stare at an LED tablet for just 2 hours before bed, their melatonin, that sleepy time hormone, drops by over half. This messes up their body clocks so much that it takes them about an hour and a half longer to fall asleep. Because of this, they end up with social jet lag, meaning that the alarm goes off for school or work. Their body thinks it's the middle of the night. The result, they're totally wiped out and can't think straight all morning. Plus, too much blue light might actually harm your retina, which is a light-sensitive part of the back of your eye. Studies on rats, for example, have shown that long periods of blue light exposure mess with a protein called melanospin, that fucking word, and can even kill retinal cells. This happens because the blue light creates harmful molecules in the cell's energy centers. Now, we haven't seen this exact thing happen in people yet, but these animal studies definitely make you wonder about how those bright, optimized lighting setups might affect your eyes in the long run. The most common strategy for managing the modern sleep crisis is the attempt to repay a weekday sleep debt by oversleeping on weekends or something like that. While this provides temporary relief from subjective sleepiness, recent research suggests that this strategy is metabolically and cognitively insufficient.
Elton! Hey. Okay, you've stopped. Good. Hey, let me jump in here and tell the fine listeners that if they don't want to hear me say, let me jump in here, and then just flagrantly dump an ad break in their poor ear holes, I'm always the bad cop in these things. If they prefer no interruptions, perhaps they'd like to contribute via Patreon for only $4 a month and get all the episodes ad-free. Plus, they would get episodes early and with exclusive artwork for each episode, and also Patreon-exclusive podcasts like Internet Riot Master, where Elton actually reads a very weird book to you. When he isn't prattling off into tangents. He's got the attention span of a gnat, this guy. And lots of other stuff, too. So join the Patreon, folks. Link is in the description. Probably. I only work on the front end of this loose-wheeled shopping cart. Here are the ads.
A critical study conducted by the University of Colorado Boulder investigated the effects of weekend recovery sleep on metabolic health. Participants were divided into 3 groups: a control group, which got 9 hours of sleep, a sleep-restricted group that got 5 hours of sleep. My God. A sleep-restricted group that got only 5 hours of sleep. And a weekend recovery group. 5 hours on weekdays, unlimited sleep on weekends. The results were striking. The weekend recovery group exhibited worse metabolic outcomes than the group that remained consistently sleep-deprived. While they consumed fewer calories during the weekend itself, they reverted to late-night eating as soon as the work week began. Most importantly, the dramatic drop in liver and muscle insulin sensitivity was uniquely present in the catch-up group, suggesting that the oscillation between restriction and recovery, or social jet lag they call it, is particularly taxing on the endocrine system. The myth that one can catch up on cognitive function is equally unsupported. While subjective ratings of happiness and healthiness may improve after a long weekend of sleep, objective measures such as the psychomotor vigilance test, or the PVT, reveal persistent deficits. In a 6-week study simulating isolated environments, researchers found that 2 nights of 8-hour recovery sleep were unable to restore vigilant attention or spatial orientation following a week of 5-hour nights. The wake state instability hypothesis suggests that sleep-deprived individuals experience unpredictable fluctuations in alertness, characterized by microsleeps or lapses in cognition. These deficits can accumulate to levels equivalent to alcohol intoxication. Yeah, you can get drunk not sleeping enough. I mean, not drunk, but you'll act drunk, which is, hey, that's probably not what you're looking for when you drink. Anyway, for example, 24 hours of total sleep deprivation results in psychomotor performance impairments comparable to a blood alcohol content, or BAC, of 0.1%. Recovery, or 0.1%, I should say. Jesus. Yeah, Tomato, tomato, potato, potato. Recovery from these deep-seated neurobehavioral deficits often requires more than 3 consecutive nights of 8 to 10 hours of sleep, making the typical 2-day weekend insufficient for a full reset. Now, another dangerous cultural myth characterizes snoring as a harmless, often humorous sign of deep sleep. Clinical reality, however, suggests that snoring is a marker of airway resistance and frequently serves as the primary indicator of obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA, a serious medical condition characterized by repeated cessations of breathing during sleep. Not all snorers have sleep apnea, and not all apnea patients snore. Snoring occurs when the soft tissues of the throat relax and vibrate as air flows past them. Primary snoring, or simple snoring, involves noisy breathing without complete airway collapses or oxygen desaturation, or, OSA, the obstructive sleep apnea. However, that involves a partial or complete blockage of the airway, resulting in a drop in blood oxygen levels and a brief arousal as the brain wakes up to restart breathing. Isn't that fun? The myth that OSA only affects older, overweight men is a primary reason why millions remain undiagnosed, while a neck circumference greater than 17 inches and a high BMI are significant risk factors. OSA affects women, children, and even elite athletes. Historically, women have been underdiagnosed because they may present with atypical symptoms such as insomnia, morning headaches, or mood changes, rather than the classic loud snore and gasp for breath because they're dying. Or, just the loud snore and gasp. The cardiovascular consequences of untreated OSA are severe. The intermittent hypoxia, or low oxygen that you get when you can't breathe, and the subsequent reoxygenation trigger oxidative stress, and systemic inflammation, leading to the increased risk of arterial fibrillation, heart failure, and stroke. Man, I have a really crazy fear of stroke. I don't know, it's I have a deep-seated fear of becoming quadriplegic. It's not, or whatever, all over paralysis is with the can't talk, I don't know what that is. Anyway, it really bothers me. There's also a pervasive belief that suggests that as people age, they biologically require less sleep. This is an oversimplification of complex physiological changes. While the ability to sleep deeply and continuously declines with age, the requirement for 7 to 8 hours of sleep remains consistent throughout adulthood. Aging dramatically alters sleep architecture. Between the ages of 20 and 60, the percentage of slow-wave sleep, or deep sleep, decreases by approximately 75%. Oh, that's something to look forward to, isn't it? Simultaneously, there's a significant increase in lighter stage 1 and stage 2 non-REM sleep, leading to more frequent nocturnal awakenings. Oh, great. No one told me that was coming. The decline in SWS, or deep sleep, is particularly concerning because it is the period when growth hormone GH is maximally secreted. Research indicates that GH secretion declines by 80% over the same 40-year period, a change that correlates with muscle loss, decreased immune function, and slower cognitive processing in the elderly. Get your fucking sleep, people. This is terrible. Older adults also experience a phase advance of their circadian rhythm, meaning their internal clock shifts earlier. They often feel sleepy early in the evening and wake up earlier in the morning than desired. This is not a sign of reduced need, but rather a weakening of the circadian signal. The amplitude of rhythms, such as core body temperature and melatonin secretion, decreases, making sleep more vulnerable to disruption. Great, light sleeping coming for us all. To compensate, many older adults nap during the day, which can further fragment nighttime sleep, creating a cycle of perceived insomnia. The myth that one should stay in bed and try harder to fall asleep is one of the most counterproductive behaviors in sleep hygiene. This strategy often leads to conditioned insomnia, where the bed becomes a place of anxiety and frustration rather than a place of rest. Clinical guidelines for the treatment of insomnia prioritize stimulus control over therapy, which aims to strengthen the association between bed and sleep. Experts recommend that if an individual is unable to sleep within 20 minutes, they should leave the bed, go to another room, and engage in a relaxing activity under dim light. Ergo, reading a printed book until they feel drowsy. They should only return to bed when they are truly tired. Studies show that individuals who follow these instructions demonstrate significant improvements in sleep latency and overall sleep quality. And here's another one. A common misconception is that a warm bedroom facilitates sleep. In reality, the body's core temperature must drop approximately 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit to initiate sleep. A room that is too hot, above 75 or 24 degrees Celsius, 75 degrees Fahrenheit or 24 degrees Celsius, respectively, disrupts this thermoregulatory process, leading to increased awakenings and a reduction in restorative deep sleep. Most sleep specialists recommend a room temperature of approximately 65 degrees Fahrenheit or 18.3 degrees Celsius for optimal rest. So there you go. Set those climate room thermometers, thermostats. Nailed it. Yes. In the competitive world of sports, there's a myth that sleep is time wasted. That could be better spent training. That's being dismantled by empirical data. For athletes, sleep is the ultimate performance enhancer and injury prevention tool. Physiologically, chronic sleep restriction disrupts the endocrine environment, critical for recovery. Sleep loss elevates cortisol, the stress hormone, which drives muscle protein breakdown and impairs oh my God, glycogen? I'm going with glycogen. Glycogen. Glycogen repletion. Yes. Glycogen repletion. Without the anabolic window provided by deep non-REM sleep. Microtrauma or NREM sleep. I don't know why I said non. Anyway. Provided by deep NREM sleep. Microtrauma from training accumulates. My goodness. Predisposing the athlete to musculoskeletal injuries and overtraining syndrome. That's a syndrome? Jesus. Finally, several internet myths continue to circulate despite a lack of evidence. The most famous is the claim that humans eat an average of 8 spiders per year in their sleep. Entomologists confirm that this is biologically impossible. Spiders are sensitive to heat and vibrations and would view a breathing human as a dangerous predator to be avoided. Furthermore, the human gag reflex and sensation of something crawling on the face would almost certainly wake a person up. Another minor myth is that a sound sleeper never moves. In reality, healthy sleep involves occasional movements and cortical arousals. Small movements are a normal part of the transition between sleep stages, and the absence of movement can sometimes be a sign of underlying pathology. So keep that in mind when you're not moving when you're sound asleep. The deconstruction of these pervasive sleep myths, it reveals a critical need for a new paradigm, a new way of viewing things, a new shift in public health education. The current reliance on the 8-hour rule, which is just fucking the light bulb mentality, the normalization of alcohol as a sedative, that's another one, and the disregard for evening light exposure are not merely personal choices. They are drivers of a global decline in metabolic, cardiovascular, and cognitive health. We're getting dumber because of these dumb myths and not sleeping enough. The evidence is clear. Sleep is a sophisticated, genetically driven, and highly fragile biological process. To mitigate the risks of the modern sleep crisis, individuals must move beyond quantitative targets and prioritize the regularity and environment of their rest. This includes maintaining consistent wake-up times, limiting blue light exposure, addressing snoring as a medical symptom, and respecting the unique sleep architecture of each stage of the human lifespan. By aligning behavior with neurobiological reality, maybe we can restore sleep to its rightful place as the cornerstone of human health, longevity, and a sweet place for an occasional wet dream. You know what I'm talking about. Come on now. So sleep better, people. Otherwise, your cognitive health is going to decline. You're going to get dumber, fatter, and less muscular. Sleep well. Thank you for listening to Elton Reads a Book a Week. If you like this episode, this short-isode of sorts, then maybe you want to hit up the Patreon from, this podcast. You can get in on that for $4 a month. You get all these episodes with no commercial interruptions. And there's lots of other free podcasts. There are lots of other podcasts I put up there. I'm putting up another episode today of The Internet Riot Master. That's over there on Patreon. So for $4 a month, not bad. You get a lot of extra stuff, exclusive artwork, all these episodes ad-free, like I said. That you get them early. You get that too. All of that for just $4 measly. Or if you just want to tip me, $1 a month for a nice thank you. I can do that for you too. That's over there too. So if you want to do that, you can do that. If you're not into that, then please share this podcast with as many people as you know or want to know or whatever. Strangers. Strangers or people you high-five on the street. You're probably not high-fiving people on the street. But, share it around and follow all the social media stuff for this podcast. And, maybe go read stuff I'm writing. I'm writing over on Substack, and I just started writing on a couple of other sites. I'll list them all in the description or the link tree, the link page that's down there too. Or you can listen to me on another podcast I do called 2 Books, 1 Cup. You can go listen over there too. That's a fun show I do with some podcasting friends of mine who are super funny, and it's very entertaining. And we play D&D sometimes, and amongst a debate program of 2 Books, 1 Cup. That's you can find that on the Nuzzle House feed. So you can check that out. And, follow all the social media stuff, and you can email me at eltonreadsabookAweek@gmail.com. You can email me there. I might not get to you as fast as I do on Patreon, but still, it's a way to reach out to me if you want. Suggest something or, whatever you want to do. Above all else, read a book this week or start one. Better still, finish one. Finish one. Don't let them die out. That would completely fucking suck to let all the books die out. So don't go doing that. Thank you again for listening. I super appreciate it. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye. Was that sexy? That was awkward. I shouldn't have said that. Made this ending all weird. Super weird. Super weird. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
And Elton reads a book a week. That was. And Elton reads a book a week. Short-isode. That was. And Elton